Favorite topic of all
All
is
right.
today
Awesome.
communication.
Ooh, all right. Communication. Then you have to discover the thing that you want to know before you start talking to it.
Hey, okay.
Right? So,
Hello, everyone. My name is Gloria Njuguna. I am your host for today. Welcome to Actualize Talks. We are in studio today with Dr. Casper. Dr. Casper, how are you?
How are you doing? As always.
I'm good. So great to have you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So my favorite topic of all is
right.
today
Awesome.
communication.
All right. Communication.
Communication.
Okay. All right.
I will attest. I've grown in this.
You
right?
have.
I've grown in this.
Yes.
Okay. So how can we? Let's break it down, right? So, what is the purpose? So in life, yeah, because we have different relationships, work relationships, friends relationships, personal relationships, even relationship with our children. Just we are all in different relationships.
Okay.
We gotta have communication, right?
All right.
But what's the purpose of it?
Oh, wow. I like how this...
Through Actualize.
All right. What is the purpose of communication?
Yes.
Very good. You know, sometimes we need to ask questions the right way in order to get a good answer. All right?
Yes.
And while I'm doing that, I'm going to say hi to all our people. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Communion.
Okay.
Communication is for communion.
Yes.
Common union.
Okay.
So, to have a common union, you need to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
And communication, is beyond verbal. Is beyond learning what words to use.
Correct.
Because a lot of people, when they talk about communication, they start to think about, can you teach me how to talk?
Yeah.
That's not communication.
Yeah.
In fact, I would go as far as to say, talking should be the last thing you should think of when you're talking about communication.
Interesting.
Because most people will start saying, can you tell me how to talk to my husband? Can you tell me how to talk to my boss? Can you tell me how to talk to? I would argue that should be the last part of communication.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's about communion. So, whether you are trying to commune with yourself, in other words, you're trying to have a healthy relationship with yourself, because a lot of us don't have a healthy relationship with ourselves,
True.
or with another person or another being, right? You gotta be able, for example, a lot of humans have communion with animals. Don't they have horses,
Yes.
dogs? Do they have have you ever talked to your dog in English? No, think about it. You see why I said, you see that? That's why I said talking should be the last concern.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And I think this is why I think many people have a hard time with this topic, because they think this topic is about talking.
Yeah. It's true.
This topic is about knowing.
Okay. Okay.
The purpose of communication is because you want to know yourself or another person.
Yeah.
So if you start at, I want to know, then you have to discover the thing that you want to know before you start talking to it.
Hey. Okay.
Right? So, and I think, I hope it
You have PhD'd that one. That answer was PhD'd.
All right.
We love it. No, we
Okay.
love it. That was
Yeah.
a great answer. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because, many times you don't actually know the other person well.
Yeah.
In other words, communion is a matter of the heart.
Okay.
And in the heart are emotions,
Yeah.
mental acumen, emotional quotient, EQ,
Yeah.
intelligent quotient, IQ.
Yeah.
There is history, there are biases.
Right.
You are trying to commune with this other being, and if you don't understand my heart, you won't understand my mental processing.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand my mental processing, you will not understand my words.
Right.
And vis-a-vis, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, powerful and effective communication. You wonder why some politicians connect with people. They just know how to communicate with people's hearts.
Exactly.
They have understood where people's hearts are.
Yeah.
People have understood them, and they've intertwined.
Okay.
So I believe the most powerful form of communication starts before the words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like what you said.
Mhm.
Communication is not just talking.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're growing up
Yeah.
as kids, you go to, again, okay, visitors have come over. I'm so
Okay.
tempted to talk Swahili, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so visitors have come over.
Mhm.
Your mom gives you a look.
Okay.
So you know that look is don't touch nothing,
Mhm.
don't think about touching nothing, don't eat before the visitors.
Yes.
So those are, if you do that, there's a potential for consequences, right?
Correct.
So my next question is, what are potential consequences of ineffective communication? Because even as your mom is giving you that look, to you, you'll be in trouble, but it's still not communicating like, hey, like, I love the fact that the times where we grow up in now, it's called gentle parenting.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
And this gentle parenting is you walk up to your child and you explain the reason as to why we don't eat before the visitors or the guests have arrived in your house, or don't touch, the guests' plates and cups.
All right.
You explain it, and you lay down the law, but explaining it by your words.
All right.
But back then, our moms never used to do that. They would communicate with their eyes. They'll give you a look, like, don't you dare touch that. So yeah, so what are potential consequences of ineffective communication?
All right. Two things. One, I would argue two things. Number one, I would say they are effective communicators. Just the other side, as you mentioned, being able to explain to someone why you. So, I would argue it's grace-filled communication.
Okay.
In other words, when you do maybe law, and some people will be pissed off with the two things, but there is laying the law, and grace is not just laying the law,
right,
but having an understanding of the law. Okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't have an understanding of the law. So a lot of people want to say soft parenting is throw away the law.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Right. That's still not positive.
Right.
I know I'm already jumping into another topic here,
No,
but
you're good.
I don't think what the parents intended was wrong.
Right.
When I say grace filled means you're full of understanding behind what is desired.
Yes.
So if you're a coach and you're trying to have your players do a particular play, it's better if they understand why following this like play in the way it is structured, how that would lead to certain outcomes. Right?
Yeah.
It makes the players intelligent.
Okay.
So it's all about raising your level of communication intelligence.
Okay.
I used to play sports with this particular friend of mine who gave me the best definition. I wish it was mine. I use it as if it is mine. But I would say would be the author of it, even if I may transcribe it in many different ways.
Yeah.
He said, cursing is an ignorant mind trying to express itself. Now, Mind you, I had just asked him why he cussed all the time. Right?
That's a good one.
So
It's a good question.
he when I asked him, why do you curse all, like, I noticed, like, a whole generational crop of people, they just have to curse every other word. And I asked him, like, why do you curse? And he stopped and thought for a while. And he wasn't like a genius thinker, this we were sports player. This is the last person I expected like a philosophical thought from, right?
Right.
And he said, cursing is an ignorant mind. So he recognized that he is an ignorant mind trying to, in other words, a person who doesn't know how to say, I feel pain, will curse.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think they're cursing, they're being more macho or they're tough or, whatever. But actually, it's the expression of ignorance. It's the expression of the inability to communicate in a turmoil.
Yeah.
And therefore, I curse.
Yeah.
So we're in a generation of ignorance.
Whew, okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about which is worse, when believers are the ones acting as if it's self-expression when it's actually
not.
And the person who was talking and giving me this definition was not necessarily in faith.
Right.
So I think many of us, the reason why we acted that way, people used to act that way, like, I'm going to beat you, blah, 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 is out of ignorance. The inability to effectively express yourself. Yeah. And is it easy? No, it is not. It is painfully hard to express how you feel. That's why I said communication is not about the words, but the ability to express what is inside your soul. Reaching into your soul and being able to pull out. Now, when you're pulling it out, you might pull it out with a hug.
Okay.
You might pull it out, but the best form is words are good in that, at least with words, if I am effective, I'll be able to say something. Many times we hurt people because we have inner turmoil.
Yeah.
So we use harsh words.
Right.
Right? We use words and we say, I'm just expressing myself.
Yeah.
Oh, and then when somebody challenges us, what is our answer?
We lash out.
Hey, you're just trying to take away money. No, I can't even say. No. What we don't really want to say is like, I don't have the proper words to express
myself.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not sure if I answered the question.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
Okay. So, before we got married, we went through marriage counseling, and one of the courses we took was Ndoa. And one of the session I enjoyed the most, of course, was communication.
Yeah.
But part of that communication, one of the subtopics that they said is that it's actually very uncomfortable when your spouse or somebody's talking to you and then you sit back and then repeat what they've said.
Yes.
So that way the other person can, one, feel like you did listen.
Correct.
You did hear them out, and then two, that you actually understood what they were saying. So my question for you for today is, how can I use active listening to ensure I understand what is being communicated?
Now, here's the mistake most people do. They go off, in order for me to know how to talk to my spouse, to my boss, to my child well, I'm gonna start working on listening. Now, it sounds funny because I'm saying, how do you listen properly?
Yeah.
That's the question. I'm telling you, it's not by listening, right? Not working on listening.
Yeah.
Don't work on listening.
Yeah.
Work on your heart's relation to that person.
Right.
Because if your heart ain't right concerning the person, you will not be able to hear them. Because they're trying to say a lot that is inside of them. And it takes, number one, it's not overnight.
Right.
Because it takes some time to understand a person's heart.
Right.
So, and mannerisms. And the way they talk. So, what I will say is, work on your issues concerning that person first. when you deal with your issues, then begin to start getting into that person and saying, okay, why is this person, why do they always say, why do they always say this phrase? Why do they start to think about them?
Yeah.
Start being interested in them.
Right.
Start being interested in their likes and dislikes. Start, for example, they've been saying something over and over again, right? Let's say you're telling me something over and over again.
Right.
It might be that you are so tired of a particular issue happening.
Yeah. True.
What you're saying doesn't sound at all like that thing. But since I don't know you, I can spend all day sitting down like, oh, let me actively listen.
Yeah.
But that's not actually the issue. So actively listening, again, goes to don't work on listening to words.
Yeah.
Begin listening to the person's being.
Yeah.
Afterwards, the words will start making sense.
Okay.
The words will start making sense.
Okay.
Oh, now you can come and ask, when you're saying this, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Or are you saying this because of 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Now that person will begin having the opportunity to begin being like, okay, yes, this is why I've been saying this.
Right.
Why this is so. I would say that's how to actually actively listen. Beyond just saying like, I'm gonna listen to your words and I'm gonna repeat to you.
Yeah.
And when I repeat to you, that should make you feel like I've listened. Most of us, that's the first thing we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So last but not least, okay?
All right.
So, how can I communicate assertively and respectively? You know, like how you get in the relationship and it can even with friends. Let's step away from marriage, but let's say friends.
All right.
And you're trying to communicate something. Let's say they've hurt you or they've done something that's not on the norm.
Okay.
So how can you communicate, even at work, bringing in work as well? Your boss says something and it's like, wait, that didn't set right with me. How can I communicate respectively to them and tell them, hey, by the way, how you did this made me feel this way. How do you do that?
Now,
without stepping, without actually crossing like your boundaries and also not making them feel like belittling them. I think that's the best way to do it. You know how you were saying about cussing?
Yeah.
Like without having to incorporate cuss words. Like how do you respectively communicate?
Well, first of all, by removing from your speech anything that you know is disrespectful.
Okay.
That's one simple one.
Right.
The second thing I will say is this.
Okay.
You have to do the 4 actualized languages. The reason why I say you have to do the 4 actualized languages, okay, it's not even just for the shameless plug. It's because if you are visionary, you have no problem self-expressing yourself loudly. So your problem is not the confrontation and the assertiveness.
Okay.
Your problem is that you're over assertive, and that puts people off. If you're administrator, your problem is that you puff up.
Yeah.
So you communicate from a puffed up position of, if y'all don't like me, and I'm gonna puff up until you listen to me. If you're an explorer, you'll have a problem going forward and expressing yourself.
Okay.
Right? And so for me, my core thing is this. First of all, you gotta know your weakness. Which one is your problem?
Okay.
Is your problem rudeness or is your problem assertiveness?
Okay.
Are people turned off from you and they walk away from you and you start making excuses and you say everybody's against me, but you actually turn everybody off?
Yeah.
Or is your problem that you don't actually speak up, so people confuse and they think you're okay? So once you know what your problem is, then we can start talking about how to fix it.
Yeah.
One way is, if you're an overly aggressive person, you have no problem to speaking your mind, it feels good and you brag about it, but it's actually very immature.
Okay.
In that, there's a place for everything.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to build long-lasting friendships and relationships,
Okay.
you have to use that assertiveness by understanding that not everybody's as assertive as you and being able to bring them to the table.
Okay.
So for you, your strength may be to open the other person up. Hey, we need to have a chat. I've realized 1, 2, and 3 things are off.
Correct.
So you can invite people to the table because you have no problem with self-expression.
Okay.
And if you have a person who has a problem with self-expression, then this is going to be very difficult because you have to learn how to create pockets of assertiveness, which means
Okay.
you have to go prep, literally,
Yeah.
because that's your weakness. You have to
Right.
prep, like, you got to write down what do you want to write down. You have to get the other person ready.
Okay.
Hey, I need to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Hey, can we talk? Then you go there prepared.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta know what you're. So one
Yeah.
person doesn't need prep. You may need to literally go there, having written
Yeah.
everything
Notes
you're gonna
down.
say. Like, hey, this is point number 1. I want to
Yes.
talk about this thing is causing me issues.
Yes.
This thing is causing me problems.
Okay.
So that is my recommendation. Is in order to go over this situation, know who you are.
Right.
Once you know who you are, then you'll be able, because the problem is, if you're a person who doesn't confront, people may stop trusting you and say you're not as a leader.
Yeah.
Because be like, man, this person is, and most times people who do not like self-express,
Right.
they go talk behind people's backs.
Yeah.
And they want to deal with it from the back end.
Yeah.
Hey, so-and-so is bad. They start looking for friends to support them.
Yeah.
And the person who's assertive, they may be too bam, bam, bam. Then people are like, you know what, let's stay away
No.
from this person.
Yeah.
So both may be toxic,
Okay.
right? People think the person who is loud is the one who's toxic.
Right.
No, that's also immature. It's toxic to also not bring things up.
Right.
So both are toxic.
Yeah.
It's just that one always looks more toxic because their expression is so public.
Correct.
But the person who's also not bringing the issue up, but dealing with the issue is also toxic. So these are two toxic people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. I hope you guys are getting these nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
All right. So, the last question, okay?
Okay. That was not the last question.
That was the last
I thought that was
question.
the last
I
question.
said last but not least.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's close this. Let's
See,
bring it.
communication. You see, listening. I'm just kidding.
No, look. You're already jumping. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
So, how can I adapt my communication style
Mm.
to different contexts and situations?
So context and situations.
Yeah.
How can I adapt
My communication
my
skills.
communication skills?
Correct.
Wow. That is that. I mean, I feel like this is
Even
an hour.
me, I have a PhD.
Yeah, of question asking. That is for sure. My goodness. Trying to take me all in different spaces. All right. How can I adapt?
Yeah.
I think you've hit it correctly. I think there's this school of thought that you should just stick to one communication style and to be true to yourself. Right?
Yes.
I don't think it necessarily helps you.
Okay.
I think your ability to adapt to different situations and contexts comes down to exposure.
True.
It comes down to exposure. If you've only been with the same type of people who talk in the same way,
Yeah.
who walk in the same way,
Yeah.
you will be behaving, talking, and walking in the same way, irrespective of context.
Okay. That's true.
But if you're a person who exposes yourself to variety of cultures, to the variety of situations,
Yeah.
then when you're in those situations, pick up those nuggets.
Yeah.
I always say this, okay? I know in Actualize we talk like Actualize. But you know what? When you're going to talk to a 2-year-old child, it's not helping you to talk about the certain words, now I know Encanto is a movie, but
Yeah.
incantations
Yeah.
and blah blah blahs.
Yeah.
You know, you start, that child is not going to understand.
Yes.
Mama come. That is the communication
Yeah.
of a 2-year-old.
Right.
Only thing they don't understand. Maybe you just want them to come because you want to hold them to feed them.
Right.
But you're not going to say, hey, can you please put that doll down so that I can feed you properly?
Correct.
It does not. They'll look at you like, what are you talking about?
What
Only
are you
thing they
saying?
know is,
Yeah.
Mama come.
Yeah.
So you have to understand your context, first of all.
True.
You have to understand your context. You have to expose yourself, number one, as I said, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to understand the context of the person you're communicating with, right?
Okay.
One of the most you know who's the most powerful communicator right now in America? Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, he's vocal.
He's, whether you like it or not, he knows that crowd.
Yeah.
He knows what they want to hear, and they don't want a PhD.
No.
They want to hear, yeah, right? And that's what he gives them.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't want these 3 steps to this and blah. They just want to hear. They just want to be rolled up.
Right.
So he understands context. He understands placing.
Yeah.
And this makes him the most powerful person in the party because he understands communication.
Yeah.
So when you understand communication, all right, people like Obama, the reason why these people end up being where they are many times sometimes is because they're effective communicators, whether we like it or not. They understand their context.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
They switch, but there are certain people they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, they just, it's hard for them to switch.
Right.
Right? It's hard for them. And, you know, it just depends also, like, does it help you too or does it help you? So don't feel the pressure to be able to be the master communicator in all situations.
True.
Just learn, expose yourself,
Okay.
learn the context, and then finally I'll finish with this.
Okay.
Understand how you speak.
Yeah.
A lot of us have never heard ourselves talk.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when I watch videos or I hear me talk, I don't most of the times you don't sound the way you think you sound.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
So learn how you sound.
Yeah.
How do I sound? What kind of a person do I, like, if nobody saw me, how do I sound?
Correct.
Okay? And I gotta sound based on context. Don't try to sound like a professor when people need to hear the voice of a farmer.
Right.
And I'm not saying that a professor and farmer sound different. I'm just using context.
Yeah.
Because in one hand, people need to hear communication to be able to know, planting.
Correct.
They need to know how to do husbandry and all these things. Well, if you come and start talking about, they'll be like, what are you talking about? You know, so learn the context. Learn yourself, right? And I think those are just the starting steps of effective communication.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I mean, have you ever seen, for those who have seen the movie Sound of Music, the Von Trapp, the man, right?
Yeah.
You know, as a military context, he's very good.
Yeah, he's okay.
Right?
Yeah.
When he's communicating, and that's the problem with many of us. We don't realize before sometimes your wife came, before your children came, you were someone
Right.
in a context. So before, in the Von Trapp, before those kids came, before the nanny came, he was already a military guy.
Correct.
So he grew up with military
Communication.
but in context, he had no proper communication with his children.
Correct.
Or communication with a woman coming to be his wife.
Yes.
So in context, he learned through the movie and in life how to context. He understood himself, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm very militant.
Right.
By the way, I've been very militant with my kids. That's not working with them. By the way, I'm trying to be militant in a romantic relationship.
Right.
Do you see how that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Casper.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that added some value to your lives.
It really did.
Yeah.
It really, really did. Thank you so much for joining us, even here in studio.
Yeah.
And also for our viewers, thank you so much for clicking on this video on communication. We are so glad that you clicked here.
Yes.
Click on the subscribe button on the down below, and click on like, comment what your thoughts are about communication. Even if you have any more questions for Dr. Casper, feel free to post them there, and don't forget to share. And with that, Dr. C, we have wrapped up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
You're welcome. Keep actualizing.
Keep actualizing.
Welcome to Actualize Talks, your destination for purpose discovery, setting vision goals, and fostering leadership growth.
I'm joined in studio by Dr. Casper. Dr. Casper.
Joining me now in the studio, we have Dr. Casper.